Well, as you pointed out, NATO has this very paradoxical rationale by increasingly expanding. They like to use the word enlarging. Others say expanding. Okay, fine. The biggest problem with NATO's narrative is that they fail to take anyone else's perception into account. And to perceive NATO as anything other than this expanding force for good is already the problem of the perceiver, right? So NATO is going to expand. NATO is going to take the Baltics. They're going to take pretty much every country in Warsaw Pact. They're going to move right up to Russia's borders. And at the Bucharest summit in 2008, they also said that Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine also have a possible future in NATO, should these countries want. And NATO will continue to expand until Russia asks. This was one of the big things that NATO seems to look the other way. And if we have to take Vladimir Putin at face value, we can say that, he had basically said at one point, he asked, can Russia join NATO? This was him asking this in 2000. Bill Clinton was still president. And the answer that Clinton gave him was, no, that's just not going to happen. Okay. Can we at least engage in some kind of bilateral peace agreement and see each other as equals? NATO's response was no. But yet at the same time, we're not a threat. So I can effectively do the same. I can move up to your property line with a loaded gun, and I can point that gun at your house. And you can turn around and say, what are you doing? And I say, this is for self-defense. Don't worry. I'm not going to be aggressive. But if you perceive me standing, not even on your property line, but in your driveway with a loaded gun, if you perceive me as a threat, well, that's your problem. And you perceiving me as a threat, I'm going to perceive you as a threat. NATO is basically creating its own security dilemma and then getting aghast when countries like Russia or Serbia or Iran see NATO as anything other than a threat. And the other thing is that Europe keeps looking to the United States for leadership. So it's not like the US is convincing Europe that they need them. Europe keeps telling the United States, we need you. So NATO seems to continue to legitimize itself under the auspices of US leadership because the European countries that are part of NATO are more than happy to remain free riders. Although many who are fans of NATO and many who are part of NATO's upper hierarchy have effectively said that NATO must be in this, remain in this conflict with Russia over Ukraine for the sake of NATO's future, for its legitimacy. If Ukraine loses this war, NATO loses the war, and its reason for existence now comes into significant question. And this is ultimately the issue, once again, with liberalism. It has less to do with the country that the proxy war is being waged in, but one's reputation and one's commitment to something that they have put their name and reputation on. But it's a question that deserves asking, and it deserves an answer. And if Americans are asking this, Europeans are asking the same thing. Why? Why is Ukraine the line that we cannot cross? Why is it that Ukraine is the threshold between civilization and barbarity? NATO has expanded again since the outbreak of the war, with the inclusion of Sweden and Finland, two erstwhile neutral states. And, if I were Zelensky at this moment, I would, and I'm sure that he has asked this, it's like, why are you giving membership to Sweden and Finland when we're the ones that need it the most? And NATO's response to Zelensky is, you can get into NATO when you have defeated Russia on the battlefield, which as soon as I heard that, if I were Zelensky, I would have immediately called for a ceasefire because I knew that I was being gaslit. If Ukraine can defeat Russia on the battlefield, which it can't, but let's just say that it does, why would it need NATO? NATO